Grace Show. I'm Nancy Grace, and I feed off the misery of others. We are continuing our efforts here on the Nancy Grace Show to be the only program to probe into the death of legendary singing icon Whitney Houston. Now, here to help me find the truth is my Headline News fellow host, Jane Velez Mitchell.
Thank you, Nancy. Happy as always to be here.
And from ABC's Good Morning America, legal analyst, Dan Abrams.
Good to be here, Nancy.
Now, Dan, my first question is for you. Was Whitney Houston probably murdered, or was she definitely murdered?
Well, Nancy, you and I already got into this on Good Morning America. As I said before, I do not believe that Whitney Houston was murdered. Mostly because, and please hear me on this, there is no evidence to support Whitney Houston was murdered.
All right, Dan, can you prove to me that Whitney Houston was not murdered?
No.
Why not?
Because that's not how proof works.
So we must assume that she was murdered. Jane Velez Mitchell, how much was Whitney Houston murdered, and how hard was she murdered?
Very much and very hard, Nancy.
That is how we do it on Headline News.
Nancy, this kind of speculation is irresponsible. There's so much attention surrounding celebrity deaths nowadays.
You know, Dan, I am shocked at your naivete, and you can tell that I am shocked because that is how I draw on my eyebrows.
The bigger question, Nancy, is why was Whitney Houston murdered by the mafia, and who did Bobby Brown hire to do it?
And those are excellent questions, Jane, and I want to know why the police are not looking into those questions.
Nancy, I'm sure the police are doing the proper investigation.
Nancy, I have one question I would like answered. Where was Kevin Costner?
I would like to know that too. You know, I find it highly unusual that Kevin Costner found the time to fly all the way out to New Jersey for Whitney's funeral. Oh, but nowhere was he to be found when she really needed him, when he was supposed to be doing his job as her bodyguard.
Nancy, Kevin Costner is not Whitney Houston's bodyguard, okay? That was a movie they were in the 90s.
You know, I read on the music blog Spinner.
That is an excellent blog.
It's a good source. I read that Whitney Houston needs supervision 24/7, even while in the bathtub. So where was Kevin Costner, Nancy? Where was Kevin Costner?
Ladies, again, this is a film. You know, light goes through a projector.
So if you ask me, Nancy, there's only one conclusion that can be drawn.
Oh, I hear you, Jane. Obviously, there has been a cover-up.
There are many conclusions to be drawn here.
And it goes to the highest levels of Hollywood, Nancy. So the only question left is, why did Kevin Costner personally murder Whitney Houston?
And we have a Headline News exclusive right here. Kevin Costner murdered Whitney Houston because he was afraid that she was going to impugn his bodyguard business.
Kevin Costner does not have a bodyguard business, okay? He was not even anywhere near her on the day that she died.
Which only proves how terrible his bodyguard business is.
Exactly!
This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
You know, Dan, I find that you are very, very invested in trying to convince everybody that Whitney's death was an accident. Now tell me, Dan, where were you when Whitney Houston was murdered?
Murderer! Allegedly! My lawyer says I have to say that from now on.
I did not murder Whitney Houston.
Ah, so you concede that it was a murder.
Whitney, this is the kind of fear-mongering that makes people lose faith in journalism.
You know what, Dan? I did not go to journalism school to hear you impugn my integrity.
But you didn't go to journalism school.
That is what I said. I did not go to journalism school to listen to you. And now that we have solved the case of Whitney Houston, we're going to go on to our next case. After this break, we are going to find some blonde white girl somewhere who is being kidnapped.